You're at the Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub, where we enjoy conversations with people who are engaged in the world of coaching.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Coaching Inn. I'm Claire Pedrick, your host, and today I'm in conversation with Coach Marie Quigley. But before I introduce Marie, just remember, if you subscribe or follow to the podcast on the platform where you're listening, you'll be able to get every single episode as they drop, and we've got surprise episodes for you. So why would you not do that? So lots of people over many years have told me about Marie Quigley or tagged her in LinkedIn posts or shared stuff that she shared, and we have never met. So I sent Marie an email and said, why don't we have a conversation at the Coaching Inn? Welcome, Marie.
Thank you, Claire, and thank you for that invitation. And yes, it's funny because whatever you've just said is like a parallel to what I would have said about you too. So great to finally see you, meet you, connect with you. I think it's a wonderful synergy. Lots of things you say, I think I could have said that myself. And I love the simplistic way you explain so many things, because that's how my mind works too.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that. I have got a secret reason, which I'm going to disclose to you in a minute about why you're here.
Oh, yeah, okay.
As well as wanting to know you, because I think you've got something to share that we need to hear. But before we get to my secret reason, tell us about your coaching journey, Marie.
Yeah, where to begin? I think the best place to begin is that I wanted to train as a coach a long time before I actually took the leap and trained as a coach. So I gave myself many excuses over the years of I wasn't good enough, clever enough, smart enough, didn't have the time, children didn't allow, so many reasons why I couldn't step into this world. If I could go back to my younger self and give her some advice, I'd have just said, just do it, stop it. So the idea of coaching came many, many years ago. My eldest daughter's 26, and it was around that time that I was doing a lot of mentoring for the company that I worked for, but coaching started to come into my awareness as a different form of being with somebody. And it wasn't until I had my third child, just before my third child, she's 18, so it was a couple of years before that I actually decided I'm going to do this coaching thing.
So what did deciding to do this coaching thing look like?
It looked like stepping into this experience when I couldn't afford to do it, when it still wasn't the right time. My husband had lost his job at the time, and we really couldn't afford, if we looked at it practically, for me to invest. It was a lot of money at the time to invest in the program. And the way I decided to do it was to piecemeal the payments, because I made a decision that I was going to do the training, and then I was going to earn enough money back so that I could pay for that training and do the next training. And that's what it looked like, practically, stepping into something that felt very scary, also knowing that I had a very young baby and 2 other children that I had to manage through all that, as well as moving countries and everything else that goes with that.
Wow.
And I think when I stepped into the training room, I realized, Claire, this was about me first, discovering me. And so I knew I had to earn money from getting clients. So that's a practical aspect. But I really embodied the experience of learning about who this person was at her core, re-remembering who I was.
Yeah. Re-remembering. What a beautiful description.
Yeah, well, I think, we come to this earth with so much wisdom, and we get lost. I'm a definite people pleaser, or certainly was in the past, and putting other people first is my habit. And stepping into the coaching world, that first training, really, I put myself first and learned how to appreciate that.
Yeah, and what that lesson that is for all of us.
I still need it reminding
that's
from time to time, Claire.
Yeah, because we can only be our best selves when we're there, not when we're absent, right?
Yeah.
So what's your business? What does your life look like now in your workspace, Marie?
So life is in the workspace. I've spent the past 20 years in the Middle East growing a business, first of all in Dubai. That's where I had my own private practice called Golden Leap. It was leaping into the space from our center, and had a wonderful few years building up my private practice. Then our travels took us to Qatar, where I met my current business partner for Empower World. She's an amazing Australian coach. She's based in Melbourne, and we developed a program for which a lot of teaching about what coaching was, what it wasn't, to organizations, sort of gifting our time, allowing them to experience lunch and learns, small trainings, so that they started to understand what coaching was, because it really was very new in that time. We also decided that we wanted to train people to become coaches, and they didn't have to leave the land that they were in. So we wanted to create world-class training so they didn't have to travel. And so that's what Janine and I have been doing for the past 10 years. And during the pandemic, I moved back to the UK. You can hear my voice. I was born in the UK originally, but I left over 30 years ago. And we've been Janine's in Melbourne, as I mentioned. I'm in the UK, and we're still running our coach training coaches in the Middle East. And I've got my private practice working as an executive coach from that perspective as well.
Nice.
So it's busy.
Nice. Yeah. And you're in Sheffield, I think.
I'm in Sheffield. Yes, I'm in Sheffield. Funnily enough, no disrespect to any Sheffielder listening, but when I was 18, I wanted to run from the place. And now I'm no longer 18. I'm back here. And there's an amazing community of coaches here. Actually, one of the coaches, Alex Swallow, who really talks, he and I talk a lot about you and your work. We have regular coaches meetings, coaching, walking sessions. So there's a real community that I didn't expect when I returned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's been beautiful.
Yeah, the Sheffield Coaching Exchange. I'm well jealous.
Yes, it's gorgeous. And shout out to Chloe and Julie, who are also running that. And the founder of that, Lisa, she has been running it for probably, I think, 10 to 12 years. And she's moved aside to do other things. So that was a godsend in COVID times, Claire.
Yes, I can imagine. So now we get to the reason that I invited you.
Go on then.
One of the things that our listeners talk about a lot is professional accreditation. And I'm accredited with the ICF, the International Coach Federation, but I wanted to have some coaches on who have other accreditations, and you have multiple accreditations.
I do.
So I'd love to know what's the reason for that, and what's different, and what's it like, and all the things.
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first trained as a coach, I didn't go straight into credentialing. I wanted to take some time to really understand what I wanted out of the practice and who I was as a coach. And I really took my time to research the coaching bodies that were aligned with who I was and my development as a coach. And ICF was the first place I went, because I was working as a global coach internationally, and that's what the ICF offered me. It was that global approach. And to be honest, at the time, Claire, I wasn't aware of any other coaching bodies that were as big or as useful as the ICF. So that's the route I went, became ACC, moved into PCC, moved on the journey like yourself towards MCC, and still on the journey. As we know, the route to mastery, if you want to call it that, is never ending. So that journey is still happening. Along the journey of becoming credentialed through the ICF in the various ways, I became interested in becoming a coach supervisor. And I took a beautiful program with Damien Goldvarg, and it was an international program. Yeah. You know Damien?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a wonderful, wonderful man, coach, trainer. And I loved his approach of global connections. That's what really interests me. Diversity, different cultures. And I did this beautiful program with him, and it was aligned with the EMCC. So to become a coach supervisor, an accredited coach supervisor, his program was aligned with that. And so that's how I discovered the EMCC and decided to pursue that credential so not just become trained as a supervisor, but become accredited, because I think the accreditation and credentials for me just helps me keep on track as a professional and keep the standards as high as possible. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm a very practical person, so I'm not particularly into lots of detail. And completing the EMCC application initially was a little bit daunting, because they require a different thought process in applying for their accreditation, for me anyway. And it means bringing case studies and writing about it and lots of reflective work, which I love. But actually gathering all of that information, if you haven't been on top of it, can be a bit of a process. So it took a lot of my headspace to get round this application. What EMCC offers is a lot of academic research, a lot of practical applications that's different to the mentor. I love the mentoring that ICF require. EMCC don't require coaches to have mentoring, but they do require a lot of professional development and proof of that every time you renew your credential, which is every 5 years. So there's a difference, I think, in those two bodies. And I like the different senses that both of these bodies give me. Interestingly, though, Claire, I've recently become a fellow membership of the AC, and that
I know, I saw that.
Okay, right. So that was again, I'd heard of the AC. A lot of my supervisors are part of the AC. But did I want to look at another body to think about all of the requirements? And I'm a panel tutor on the Cambridge coaching certificate program, and their program is aligned with the AC. And I thought, if I'm going to be a tutor here, I need to understand what the AC offers people. And actually, the AC has been it's only recent, and it's been a really interesting journey for me to appreciate them. I have to say, out of the three huge bodies, the AC has felt the most intimate, the most friendly is the wrong word, but the welcomes from the AC, the welcome emails from AC felt so personal to me. And I do like that. So it's given me a view of coaches who aren't credentialed by either EMCC or ICF, but have it feels like a small little, and it isn't a small pool, but it feels like a smaller pool of intimacy.
And now there's the Universal Coaching Alliance that's just beginning, and they're going to come to the Coaching In and talk about it shortly. So
I'm looking forward to learning about that. That's interesting, isn't it? That the universal, I mean, I love that saying because they are so aligned with each other in many, many ways, shapes and forms, and yet the differences are also quite beautiful.
yeah, and the differences aren't consistent, are they? So a difference that you get in one place is different from a difference you get from another thing. So for example, I was talking to somebody last week and they said that they were looking at which professional body to join, and they looked at the codes of ethics. And the one that was the most straightforward and that the one that they understood the most easily and the one that they identified with was the ICF, the International Coach Federation.
Yeah.
But then there were other things where they identified better with a different body. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I started coaching, there was only one professional body, and that was the International Coaching Federation. There was nothing else.
Yes.
And I saw those other ones begin. It's been a really interesting journey, but I love how you are committed to all of them in different ways for different reasons.
Yes. I think that was, so before I joined the latest one, the AC, I thought, can I do this and honour the commitment that it takes to be part of it? Because Claire, it's really important to me to give back to the community of coaches somehow or some way. So what I loved when I joined the AC was that they offer supervision. And as a supervisor, I can come on and offer that in that space. So I can support the community in that way. I think supervision is a really important part of our training and learning and our development. We have since becoming a supervisor, myself and Janine, she's also a supervisor, we've put it in our coach training program as a requirement. So I want to give back to the community. So how do I do that if I'm part of 3 bodies? With the ICF, I was director of ethics for a few years. Now I want to give back in different ways. I need to have the time to do that. And we both know the commitment it takes to looking after our clients as well as the coaching bodies that we're part of.
Yeah. Yeah. So for you, what's the difference between supervision and mentor coaching?
Oh, to me, it's a clear-cut difference, Claire. So for mentor coaching, for the purposes of credentialing, I, as a mentor coach, am listening in to the coach's work and giving feedback based on the core competencies. And because it's a requirement for ICF, I'm going to say the ICF core competencies. So we're listening in at the different levels to ensure that the coach is reaching those markers, so to speak. Whereas supervision, it may also require or the concept that the coach may bring, whether it's in small group settings or one-to-one, it may be still developmental. They still may want to know about how to do things. But the difference with supervision is I'm not listening in to a recording or not observing a session. I am getting the coach's perspective that they bring about their client work. And that it's a way to plug in your battery, come and bring anything you want, ethical issues, challenges, opportunities, bring your client work so that you can get some thinking around what you could do differently, and also supporting yourself to be the best coach possible, thinking about the different aspects of the profession, even growing your business to support the success of your clients really at the end of the day. So hopefully I'm clear about the differences.
Yeah, I love hearing other people talking about what they perceive the differences to be,
Yeah.
because everyone's fed up with me talking about it.
Yeah, for me, it's
Really interestingly though, I've got a number of supervision groups that I run, and I've decided that for next year, part of the process is going to include one-to-one with a recording as part of the group work. So they'll just meet individually with people, because there's something, isn't there, about self-reported data
yes.
and observable data. And I think they both matter.
So do I. So actually,
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're combining it. For me, when I talk to coaches about either mentoring or supervision, I'll always say you can do a combination of both. It's not
Yes.
say one or the other. You can choose, but there is a difference between the experience of coaching and supervision. A bit like, when we're explaining what is coaching versus consulting, they're two different things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's make sure that we're keeping on track of both things. I think both are incredibly valuable, and I
Yeah.
would not feel that I was in the right place without either of them.
Yeah.
I still have mentoring, I still have supervision. It's part of my continued learning practice.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny. Sometimes I'll say to people, well, the mentor coach in me would say this, and the supervisor would be asking you that. So you can choose.
Yeah.
What would you like right now? But I agree. I mean, they both really matter,
Yes,
don't they, for us to become fully formed professionals?
they do both really matter, and I think, and I'm hoping, I know ICF in the second core competency have said that the coach has a coaching mindset. Coaching mindset where you are
Yeah.
using reflective practice. But I think it would be really useful for it to be a requirement for coaches to have it.
Yeah.
Because it really
Yeah.
allows us to think in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And a requirement, I think, for us to watch recordings of our own work, even if we don't take it to somebody else.
Yes. Yeah. I think there's such great learning. I know when I'm mentoring somebody on their recording, I expect them to watch it actually before they send it to me. Watch it and think, is this, am I doing coaching in this, or am I doing something else? What am I noticing? And I think at the development of a coach is often that they can see it themselves, that they come and say, oh gosh, Marie, look what I did there. Here's what I could have done. And I think, okay, now you've got it. It's when they can't see it that I think, okay, we've got to uncover something here. So to support them to see it in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because once you've got to the here's what I could have done, I'm not saying the next part of the journey is easy, but the next part of the journey is doable.
That's right. Yes.
I just did I watched a recording with somebody today, and they said that they wanted to keep working with me. And I said, I don't want to see another recording until you've done what you know you need to do. Because you can do that. You don't need me to do that. And we don't need to be watching a recording and going, oh, look, you did it again.
Right. Yeah.
Because the capacity for us to learn and to change and develop is high, isn't it? That's what we're in the business of doing. So
Yes. Some coaches will say to me, oh, I've got a backlog of recordings I can send to you. And I'll say, but that's in the past. What's happening now
yeah.
in the next session
Yeah.
is what matters.
Yeah.
So the backlog
Yeah.
is irrelevant. It's gone.
Yes, and we hope we're not there anymore.
Yes.
Except on a bad day.
Yeah. And sometimes you do a magnificent session in the past, and there's a lot of learning and joy to that. And if we only keep looking back, it's not going to allow us to move forward.
So we've got all sorts of people around the world listening to this, of all levels of experience. And I'm just really interested what you want to say to people, to coaches, about their development, Marie.
Gosh, how long have we got, Claire?
Oh, plenty of time.
I would say do your learning, do your training, because I do think training is important. Learn those models and get them into your bones so that you feel good with them, that they feel like they're part of you, and then let them go and be fully present with the client. And that's what makes the difference. So if we aren't paying attention, we can't see and allow the model or any of the models to arise within us to think, oh, this might be useful, or that might be useful, or that, forget about all the models. Actually, the wisdom is happening in the session as it evolves.
Yeah. You sound like Jung.
Do you mean I look young or I sound like young? I'm only teasing.
No, you sound like Carl Jung, who said, learn your theories as well as you can and put them aside when you touch the miracle of the living soul.
Oh, Claire, that's beautiful.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love what you said about it being in our bones.
I think in our bones, in our blood, in our heart, in our spirit, then we can be all of ourselves. You train coaches, Claire. We're not training mini Claires or mini Maries. We are supporting people to be fully themselves as a coach, so that you can allow the person you're with or the group you're with to be fully themselves. And that's brave work. But we can't do it if we don't have a kind of process and structure to help us have the container.
Yeah. That's what I probably say more to people than anything else, which is make it your own.
Yeah.
Don't make it look like you, but make it your own.
Yes. I think we've come to this earth with so much wisdom. We've come to this life right now, wherever we are, with so many things that we've overcome or we've challenged ourselves with. And we need to bring that part of ourselves to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And because if we are vulnerable and courageous in who we are, it has a ripple effect. When you sit with somebody, whether they're authentic or whether it's just a process that they're doing.
Yeah. Sounds like you're doing a plug for the human behind the coach.
Yes. And I can see it. I can see it sitting in your window, Claire.
Yeah. So what's the book you haven't written?
Oh gosh, I've got so many titles that I have written down. There's one I think I'm very passionate about presence. Just I love Doug Silsby's work on coaching presence, and I believe that when we're able to tap into to have a practice of presencing and tap into our own wisdom, that when we're present, so many things emerge. I'm doing a piece in July for the Sheffield Coaching Exchange, and it's about listening to echoes of the conversation instead of listening for the words, listening to the other things that are happening, Claire. And I don't think we can listen for the echoes unless we are fully present.
Wow, I've got all tingly. I'm going to take that away and add it to something that I've been thinking about, because that has made sense of something that I hadn't quite got. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Maybe that's my next book, Listening for Echoes.
Yeah. I'm not going to write another technical one. But there is one to be written. There is one to be written about listening that isn't about hearing the words. Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah. If we listen with our bodies, if we listen with our bellies, if we listen with our toes, we are going to hear something very different. And if we're doing that, then the person we're with is going to be paying attention to themselves in a very different way.
And what I feel here, sense, as you talk about that, is the kind of bounce back of the sound that's quite a long way away from us, much further away than the information.
Yeah. And when we hear that sound reverberating, it's magical.
And sometimes we can only sense it, and that's magical too.
Yes. And I think that's when we're fully present, we can use ourselves as an instrument to help somebody hear the echo or experience the echo that they are having within them, but they just can't hear it yet.
I'm going to put a little note in chapter 1 saying Marie Quigley talks about echoes. Because the thing that the insight that I had when we were writing The Human Behind the Coach was talking to coaches about being silent and recognizing that they were thinking when they weren't speaking. And that's when you can't sense or hear the echo, can you? Because there's still noise.
Yes.
And you're describing something that can only emerge when we are actually completely silent.
Yeah. When we're not thinking, where am I going to take them? When we're not thinking, what question do I ask yet? But when we are sitting in unknowing and letting whatever it is present to unfold.
And wow, we've got no control.
Absolutely. You know, and coaches will say, but I need to add value if I'm just silent, if I'm just present. And I think the value you add when you allow somebody to hear their own echoes, to hear their own essence, is something you can't buy that. It's so valuable.
Wow. What an amazing conversation. I really hope next time I come to Sheffield we can meet in real life.
We will, Claire. We will make it happen.
So how do people find out more about you and get in contact with you, Marie?
LinkedIn is an easy way of doing that. You can contact me through the website empowerworld.com, empower-world.com. That's the best way of doing it.
Brilliant. So I'll put all those links in the show notes.
Thank you, Claire.
Marie Quigley, thank you for coming to the Coaching Inn.
Claire, it was my pleasure, my joy, and really, really, really appreciate the work you do and what you bring to the world of coaching as well. So thank you very much.
Well, Thank you. And I'm going to be thinking about echoes for days. So, lovely listeners, thank you for listening. It's been great to talk with you today and to explore all this stuff with Marie. Do subscribe or follow if you want to get every episode as it drops. That's available on every platform. So thank you all for coming. Thank you, Marie, for coming. Bye-bye.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd love you to share the podcast with a friend or leave a comment on social media. And if you'd like to become a regular at the Coaching In, you can subscribe on Podbean and all major podcast channels. We look forward to welcoming you next time. You've been listening to The Coaching In, 3D Coaching's virtual pub. For more information, check out 3dcoaching.com.